Hello and welcome to our panel. I'm Brian David Gilbert from Polygon, and I am joined by three wonderful folks from Mediatonic, which is the developer behind Fall Guys, a colorful game that's all about hanging out with your friends and desperately trying not to perish. Does that sound like a fair description for this one?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty fair. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. I'm glad. Thank you all so much for joining me, first and foremost. Would you like to introduce yourselves, maybe starting with Jeff?
Yeah, sure. I'm Jeff Tanton. I'm the creative director at Mediatonic.
Hi, I'm Megan Ralph. I am the lead level designer at Mediatonic on Fall Guys.
And I'm Oliver Hindle, and I'm the community manager on Fall Guys.
Well, first off, congratulations on the incredible success of Fall Guys. It's been bouncing around on #1 on most viewed on Twitch, I believe, for many weeks at this point in time. And I think everyone is wondering, where do you go from here? But before we hit that very nebulous question, I'd like to start talking about some things that kind of brought you to this point. And I guess my first question, this could be for Jeff, but really for anyone. Mediatonic has been around for quite some time now, for 15 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, we just passed 15 years.
That's amazing. What in that journey has led to creating Fall Guys?
That's a hell of a question. Lots of things. So when I joined, it was about 12 years ago, and it was literally kind of like 15 people sitting in a kind of an attic room. We were very poorly communicating with each other and just kind of working out what we were doing, largely making Flash games. I think the thing that's kind of maintained for us is this sense of joy in what you're making and bringing joy to other people and surprise. And the lovely thing about Fall Guys is there's just this through line from like the really anarchic and genuinely stupid stuff we made back in the day when we were making Flash games. And it's just weird that like that spirit has now somehow manifested in one of the biggest game releases of 2020. I couldn't even begin to explain it, but it's a good thing.
It feels very, you're right about the Flash gaminess of it, considering each of these levels is sort of a mini game in and of itself. And I guess this is a big question. There are so many wonderful mini games, but were there any that didn't end up making it into the final cut of the game?
I will preface this by saying that no ideas have definitively been cut from the game. We like to keep our options open.
Sure. Was there like a special board where you put all of the ideas? Like, we'll definitely come back to these at some point.
There is actually. There's like a black hole that we throw things into and occasionally pull them out when we're feeling pretty dry on content. So yeah, there's mostly just ideas that we haven't figured out a way to do properly, or that doesn't feel quite right. So I think a big one for me is I love asymmetrical gameplay. So games where two groups of players have to do totally different things. But just communicating that to players has been really difficult, because we like to sort of design levels where you jump in and you are instantly, hit the ground running and you know what you're supposed to do. And we've found that levels with more complexity than that are pretty difficult. So I'd really like to explore that in future a little bit better, now that players know how the game plays and understand what we're going for a bit better. I think that would be a really fun idea to sort of handle. We've also found games like Egg Grab, where you have to pick up an object and do something with it, have been quite complicated to convey to people. So games that involve complex instructions with objects that you pick up. So there's something there that I'd like to do, but we've tried that a few times and it hasn't really gone through. I think probably the other genre which I'd really like to explore in future is logic games. I came up with an idea once about math problems that didn't go down very well. I would love to do something like that, using a bit more of a different part of people's brains, and to sort of see if that sort of shakes up the players that get through to the final rounds, if we put in something that challenges players who aren't necessarily as quick on the draw as some of the players that are getting through to the crown levels. So yeah.
Somewhere in Meg's kind of graveyard of discarded ideas, I swear there's something called compare your largest fruit and veg or something. Like, can you remember? You won't remember the name of it, but it's just like the moment we read it, I'm like, this is surely surely not safe for work and just a terrible, terrible idea. It was so innocent.
That was a great one.
It was. Yeah, you still believe that can happen. I'm not entirely sure myself.
I personally look forward to comparing your largest fruit and veg and version 6 of the game.
You know, sure, right.
A little bit down the line. Let people get really used to it. You brought up a really good point, Megan, about just being able to jump straight into the game, which I think is one of the most fun aspects, is that even a fool like myself could just hop right in and be like, oh, I just have to get to the end of the level. That's the point of it. But that balancing of the challenge, which you mentioned, sometimes if the instructions go a little bit too in depth or convoluted, it can kind of stop that fun factor. But how did the team really find that perfect balance between being a challenging game, because I certainly have never won the crown, and actually being very fun?
So I feel like that was a huge point on the whiteboard when we were sort of coming up with different levels and just the game in general. One of our main level pillars. So we sort of have like pillars that we like to use to compare the levels against each other and make sure they're all of the same sort of quality standard. And one of them is we wanted the game to have 80% skill-based obstacles and levels, and then 20% luck-based things happening in levels. So basically wanted you to be able to feel like you could get better at the game and feel like you were winning on your own merits. But at the same time, we also wanted those 1 in a million moments where you get hit by something or you flip over or someone pushes you, to feel like they were their own kind of reward, I guess is probably the best way to put it. So we really, really focused on trying to make failing feel funny and feel like it was less of an investment than other sort of battle royale games where you would spend like half an hour hiding in a bush or something like that. We wanted you to sort of be able to fail, be rewarded by having a memorable moment from that, and then you could just jump back in and you didn't really feel that disappointment that you do in other sort of multiplayer competitive games. And I really think we've succeeded on that one. I think of all the things that we've aimed to do, that's probably the reason why people are loving it as much, and a lot of people who aren't necessarily hardcore gamers. I think that would be why.
We also set out kind of I don't know if we absolutely stuck to this, because as Meg says, there's pillars and we try our best, but certainly for like a lot of the early game ideas, we tried to make sure that you could explain what the player needs to do in 4 words or less. And if you couldn't, if you're starting to kind of like, well, then you do this, then it's like, well, that's not a Fall Guys game. You know, it needs to be like absolutely understandable from the off. And yeah, I think Meg and her team just did a really incredible job there.
You've mentioned other battle royale games, and it feels almost heretical to call this a battle royale game, because most battle royale games end in just complete frustration, whereas this one, you mentioned, it's fun to fail. And I was wondering if there was ever any specific reason why you ended up settling on just 60 players per game as opposed to like a standard 199, whatever you expect from a standard battle royale game.
Yeah, we just went with. Oh, sorry, Maggie. Go.
No. I think you're probably going to summarize it.
Well, it's like I'll be honest. We started like the original pitch deck right back in the day with 100, because that's a nice big round number. Everyone loves 100. Sounds good, right? 100 people go do a thing, and then we got to the point in development where we had the networked Fall Guys. The physics wasn't completely there yet, but we had a couple of levels where we were trying it out of 100 people. And it sucked. Like it really just wasn't fun. Like you couldn't see. You just got lost in the mass. And Meg's referenced the kind of the 80-20 thing there. The more people you have around you, the more that 20 starts shifting into 30, 40, and then it's like, well, I didn't stand a chance, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So we just kind of started to scale down until we found what was right. I think one of the really funny things from development is when we kind of hit the 60, we started doing internal play tests, but not telling anybody that we'd scaled down from 100 to 60, and we were waiting for everyone to be like, well, what's happened? Like why is it less? And it's like, well, no one noticed. So we're like, okay, well, it's probably fine. It probably hasn't made much of a difference. So 60 was just, for us, it felt like the right amount to kind of create this spark of chaos and emergent a gameplay but not enough to just kind of make you feel frustrated and lost in the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just to sort of build on that. So if you look at the size of some of the bigger levels at the beginning, like the gauntlets, we would have to make them huge basically to accommodate that many players, and you really lose something if you make levels that big, because there's an intimacy with the size of the levels at the moment that is kind of just perfect with 60 that, you know, we would have lost if we decided to sort of compromise over just that round figure that was sort of, you know, put out there at the beginning. So yeah, you sort of you don't lose anything in the gameplay having 60 instead of 100, but you gain a lot less frustration, I think.
Yeah, the start line at something like DoorDash just looked like this daunting hangar, you know, where like soulless. So the moment we kind of like squashed it down, it just felt better overall.
I guess as well, like you have. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, continue, Oliver.
I was just going to say, I guess as well, like you have a better chance of winning. It's 1 in 60 rather than 1 in 100.
Yeah, I mean, we've not even
always good.
Talked about the point that we made with, you say like a battle royale. We just made a battle royale. We didn't stand a single chance of winning, and by bringing it down from 100 to 60, we were just very hopefully improving our odds and still failing at that. So yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah, I think you've done a good job of making me feel like there's still a chance of me personally winning, which is great. But you mentioned it was a soulless group of 60 people at the very beginning of the game. I wouldn't necessarily consider the Fall Guys characters soulless. First off, is there like a canonical term for the character you playing as in the Fall Guys?
I think like Oliver's best to handle this, because we were calling them Fall Guys, but it was literally the moment the game went live and Oliver just started doing his thing on community management, like they're beans, you know, why they are absolutely beans now, and we can't fight that. But Ollie, like, did that come from the community?
I think it was the community that kept calling them beans, and I just sort of, whatever the community is saying, I say the same thing. So yeah, they've called them beans. We've gone with it.
Yeah, the initial idea behind them was, at least in the very initial kind of like pitch deck we put together when we spoke to Devolver, was half sports mascot, half vinyl toy. And the sports mascot, because we were like, look, they're going to be like super top heavy, uniquely designed to be bad at the things we want them to do, just as a sports mascot is. And vinyl toy, because they've just got that kind of impermeability about them. You know, they can't be, I'm sorry, like they can't be cut, they can't be dissected, they're not going to be hurt by kind of falling over. And then, yeah, like over the course of development, we arrived at this jelly bean shape, and the community dubbed them beans. And we are absolutely not going to go against the community at this point. They're beans.
I mean, I love these large bean lads, but you said they are unable to be dissected, but perhaps Oliver, you can speak to this. There have been some surprising revelations from the Twitter specifically about the physiology of these Fall Guys, and I want to ask you that now that we know that they are 6 feet tall and have almost bird-like skeletons, is that correct? Canonically, is that also that's now written into the lore?
Well, I guess the main thing is, even though it's an official Fall Guys channel, a lot of what I say is not technically official.
Okay,
and
so
I haven't necessarily checked with the team on quite a few of the things that I am.
You know, you have to ask for forgiveness instead of permission sometimes, right? I personally love the design of these new creatures. What do you think has lent you to kind of leaning into the absurdity of it, and like is it just listening to the community and just bouncing that back at them?
Yeah, I think that's definitely like a part of it. There was a small sort of subsection of the community that make really creepy drawings, which I love because I love like the Garfield stuff and the Thomas the Tank Engine. And yeah, just anything that's not supposed to be creepy and then people make it creepy. I just think that's awesome. So I've just retweeted what they've made. And I guess that was the first one where somebody on the team actually made that, and we shared that as well.
You just retweeted what they made along with saying this is canon, you know. It's like, I don't know why everyone's suddenly deciding this is a real thing now. Sure, you know.
Yeah, it's not my fault, it's the community, blame them.
Yeah, sure.
Understandable. And speaking of the community, you I believe you've mentioned that this release has gone almost above and beyond what you were expecting. Obviously, I'm sure you were expecting people to enjoy this game, but it's really, really exploded. And this is a very difficult question to ask, but still, do you have any ideas about why it exploded in the way it did?
I think there's a lot of different reasons. Like, yeah, like the game itself, like the timing of when the game came out. I guess like all the marketing we did. It's just everything has kind of fallen into place really well. I don't think any of us expected it. It's gone way further than any of us could have like even in our wildest estimations.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in a strange, it's a really, I guess it's like, bold lightning. We know that it's gone really well. We were hoping the game was going to be a success. It's obviously kind of like surpassed all expectations. But I think all of us are really cautious about suddenly becoming the devs who say, and this is what you need to do in order to repeat this thing, because it's so ridiculous, right? Like there's no way you can repeat all these things, and we just look like complete dicks if we implied that we've suddenly found the formula, because if we knew it, then we probably wouldn't wait 15 years to do it previously. So we're super happy. Like the team have done an incredible job. All the things that Oliver mentioned have like contributed, but we've also just kind of hit the right thing at the right time, and we're just trying to kind of be worthy of that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Another like beautiful thing about Fall Guys in general is that it's infinitely clippable, and part of it comes from what you were mentioning, Megan, about like those 1 in 1,000 chances of hitting like the perfect door and then flying up. Like it's those things just spread. I believe I saw like 20 of those clips before I even played the game, and it made me really want to jump in and play this strange, wonderful game. And I was wondering if there was ever in designing the game, the clippability of it, was that ever a factor?
Yeah, it was. Going back to that point I made before, like for me, if I get a moment like that and I'm laughing, that's more rewarding to me than winning. So that's more rewarding to me, having a laugh and having a moment like that recorded and being able to share that with people than getting a crown. And because it's so easy to jump back into games again, I can do that again anyway, So that was a huge point that we wanted, not necessarily it to be big as a streaming game, but we definitely wanted to facilitate people that wanted to capture those moments and share them, because I don't know about you, but those are the things that I share with my friends. So, we wanted to make that easy for people, and we wanted to make a game that would facilitate those moments. So a lot of the level design is there just to sort of facilitate those moments, basically. It's not trying to force them. It's not forcing you to get hit by a hammer and then fly off and hit someone or grab a tail at the last moment. But we've tried to make the levels in a way that it's there occasionally and it can happen. And if you want something weird to happen, you can sort of find your own little route through things or figure out a way to sort of create something memorable. So yeah.
Meg actually kind of, for all of like the one pages, like the initial kind of level design ideas that are put through to her, one of the things that the other designers have to kind of put is like, what are the magic moments on this level? Like what are the potential things that can happen that wouldn't happen all the time? And that goes into part of the kind of the discussion and the pillars when we're deciding what we take forward.
You've mentioned a lot about community trust, right? And listening to the feedback from the community and occasionally turning that creepy drawing into a canonical information for the game. But I want to ask, how do you, since this game is so much larger than I think anyone was originally expecting, how do you find which feedback is actually helpful for like making sure cheaters go to Cheater Island, as I think was one of the wonderful little elements of it, and like which things are just people getting mad about a certain thing or fixating on something, like the yellow team always getting bullied during team games? Like where do you draw that line?
I guess it's interesting because like for every person that says they don't like a particular level, there's somebody else that says that's their favorite level. So it's really hard to kind of balance that sort of stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Meg was a massive advocate of that. Sorry, Meg, no, you go. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that literally, I remember when we launched and I was reading Twitter and just seeing comments one after the other, and it was exactly that. They were like polar opposite opinions at the same level, and I'm like, we've done it. That was the moment where I was like, yes, we've done it, you know. Or people were like, you'll see a video clip and it'll be like, this level is so easy, and then they'll get eliminated. And it's like, those were the sort of the moments that I wanted to create out of the levels. Like I love, for example, Perfect Match is a really hilarious one, because people always think that they have it. You know, people always think that if you follow people, you'll be fine and you don't have to think about it. You can just grab people or whatever. But occasionally someone will trick everyone and go stand on the wrong tile, and it'll wipe out 99% of the people in that level. And like, those moments for me were like, yes, I think we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. They're beautiful. So I love that about the levels that we've made. But as far as the feedback goes, for one, the dev team read and listen to a lot of feedback from the community, and it's fantastic that we have so many ways of reading that feedback now. So there's so many different ways we can sort of see what people think, or look at people's rundowns or play experiences from the game, which has been really, really helpful for us. Most of the stuff that we see or that we hear people complain about that are actual problems or actual bottlenecks are things that we've identified ourselves. So it's really nice to sort of get that reinforced to us, so we can prioritize that stuff over other things. Like it's a really good way of like gauging what is the most important thing for us to fix and you know, to try and get out as quickly as possible. So that's actually been really, really helpful. And then sometimes you'll get feedback from people and it's just like, oh my God, that's amazing. You know, like, oh, that's going to make this so much better. So there's nothing bad about feedback, I think, in my opinion. And I love the fact that we've got, you know, so many inroads to sort of reading what people have to think on this game.
Yeah, and people that care, you know, like even if we don't agree with the feedback, the fact that someone's kind of gone to the effort to like, well, this is what I think, you know, is still pretty incredible.
The game itself seems to lend itself to this like wholesomely positive sort of experience, even though again you can end up falling into the slime after someone throws you over. But like the I guess my question is like, does that sort of wholesome positivity end up bleeding into the rest of the community? And I guess Oliver, you would have the most information on that.
Yeah, I think that is something I've tried to do, is sort of take the values of the game itself and then sort of project those outwards on like the Twitter and stuff. So I mean, originally in like the original plan for the social media, the idea was it was supposed to sound like a Fall Guys just sort of got onto the internet, and it's what a Fall Guy would tweet, is just really positive, wholesome, really excited tweets and stuff. I guess now those diagrams and anatomy ones are probably not as wholesome as the game, but that's okay.
Yeah. Now on the opposite side of the coin, I was gonna just ask, do you track rage quitting as a statistic at all, or is that just something you've let go? Because I would love to know if you know which of the stages has the largest rage quitting associated with it.
I don't think we are. I honestly, we're there is a lot of data to kind of like push through, as you can possibly imagine. I am going to actually ask about the rage quitting one though. Like, I guess one of the things is, Meg, what do you think would be the one that people are most rage quitting out of, like in your opinion?
That is such a hard one. You know what? I think some of the team games and tail tag, you know, when you get down to those final seconds and you know it's a bit of a lost cause, I think you get the most people dropping out on those stages. It's generally the team games and tail tag. Yeah,
for me, it's I've never, not that I have ever rage quit, but it's on full ball when no one goes in goal and it all just falls apart. And it's like, I'm always one of those people who like, with dignity, I will stay till the end, no matter how many goals are being put past me, because that's what I should do. But yeah, that's the closest I come, I think.
Yeah, we were a bit worried because like the whole yellow team thing, we were worried that people, when they were on yellow team, they just sort of throw the match. But the stats show that didn't happen, which is very good.
That's good.
That's good to know. I think that that's one of the things that is interesting to me about Fall Guys now that in going into the future, it's been such a huge launch, right? And so you've had such a wonderful feedback from the community and such a wonderful engagement from the community. And I guess I just want to ask, I know you just put out Big Yeetus, the large hammer, but what's your next like major goal for Fall Guys in general?
Like we can't like speak in too much detail yet, only to know that we're just going to keep going bigger and better with everything we do. Like we know like the opportunity that we've been gifted here and the community that are engaged with us is just incredible. 15 years has taught us as a studio like how to run things and live operations, if nothing else, and how to scale up when we need to. So we're prepared for the challenge and we're doing all the things we need to. But we just ask the community, like, stick with us. There are some amazing things coming, and they're going to be coming thicker and faster as we kind of get up to speed and basically come to terms with what's happened here. But Biggie is the tip of a ridiculous iceberg, I would say.
Well, we already know that the comparing sizes of fruit and vegetables will be coming out sometime soon.
I mean, that's honestly, that's the next thing we're pushing on to. In fact, that's all of our efforts are going to right now and nothing else.
Just all hands on deck for that one. I get it. I have a question. Now, there have been some sort of relatively esports-esque games of Fall Guys, and I was wondering about your how you feel about those esports. Do you feel like there is enough of like you can get really good at slime climb, so like you should play this as an esport, or like do you just enjoy the aspect of these like larger charity streams and things that are being put on with Fall Guys?
I think even with these like esports events, it's always framed in kind of a more fun activity. It's not really as competitive as like other esports are. It's kind of like, it's a bit of a break from those. Yeah. I think people are playing probably more competitive than we expected, but it's still seen as kind of like it, because I think to be really good at esports, it has to be like really specific rules and stuff. It has to be like really predictable, and in Fall Guys there's always going to be that unpredictability that would stop it from being super competitive.
I get it. I was wondering also, speaking of sort of competitiveness, although this was from the outside, not necessarily within the game, but everyone wants to have a skin in Fall Guys. Not to like specifically, I wanted to know if there was ever any sort of like costume that you really wanted to put in the game, but you just couldn't get it in there. It just like didn't work with the shape or, anything of that nature.
Is this panel an elaborate ruse so you can ask to get a skin of yourself in the game?
Is this where this is going?
I'm not saying that's not what it is, but
we've been doing this for 28 minutes now, and you're saying now this is what it's all about. Okay, cool.
Yeah, cool. Just pulling the curtain down. I'm letting you see. I would personally love that, but I think more importantly, I have just really enjoyed, I think, all of the costuming elements of it, and this is a stretch question, but I do want to know if there are any plans to be talking to turning Fall Guys into a live action obstacle course style TV game show. Are you in talks in that anyway? I feel like you could be missing a major opportunity if you're not.
We are, as far as I am aware, we are not in talks at the moment, but okay. I agree that it is something that we would be blessed to see. And I would be wholly supportive of that. And it would just be like the great like circle of obstacle course television shows, really. Like Takeshi's Castle inspired us. We make Fall Guys. Everyone goes crazy. Fall Guys then becomes the next Takeshi's Castle. I'm completely fine with that being our final form.
I'm glad. If you've already signed NDAs, I understand if you have to not talk about it, but I'll be the first one to help produce that show for you.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been so wonderful chatting with you. I think we're getting up to the end of our time here. And I just want to thank you all so much for joining me. I also wanted to ask if there's anything you've been dying to talk about Fall Guys that no one has just even thought to ask you.
there's some really, really exciting things coming up, and I'm really scared always that I'm just going to leak them. So I have to be really careful. But there's some really, really exciting things I'm really, really excited about. That's all I can say.
That's great. If we had a few more minutes, I would not let you just have that as your answer. I would grill you a little bit more on that. But y'all, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a wonderful panel with you all. And I want to thank also the audience for watching us from home. If you want to play Fall Guys and for some reason haven't done it yet, you can check that out. That's on Microsoft Windows and PS4. And if you want to see more videos from me and the rest of the Polygon video team, you can check us out at youtube.com/Polygon. Thanks again to all of the panelists, and thank you for watching.